Good evening, all. How are you doing on this fine Friday? And it's transitioned again because of reasons. Hey, there we go. Me unplugging myself. Shouldn't have heard anything. I had everything muted up. Steve says it's fixed my PC before fixed my list for technical ed. Funnily enough, this time round, it wasn't. I am so fucking tired. So the reason that we are starting 4 minutes late is because I need a big cup of tea. Because if I don't, I might lose my shit. I've had an interesting little while. Yeah, yes. So I've been, because I'm working from home, I've been feeling unfit, not happy about my level of fitness, and I wanted to fix that. So one of the things I've been doing, been taking a leaf out of James Ramsey's book. He's been getting into really good shape by walking, so I've been doing some evening walks. Yesterday, I decided to top up my electric meter. I still have a prepaid electric meter because, you know, England is somehow simultaneously between the 21st century and the 1800s. And, yeah, topped up my electricity meter, no problem. Got home, checked all my pockets, realised that the key wasn't there. Basically, I just dropped it at one point on my walk. So there was another 40 minutes of fairly serious panic because we were on backup electricity already. So, yeah, good times. Everyone had a great time there, he says sarcastically. So, I was trying to reset my sleep schedule, but I had work to do that I had to get finished before I went to bed because I've got to get up at 5 o'clock tomorrow morning because I'm going to a Team England practice day. So it's all kind of come together a little bit. Tired gang, hey, that rat bastard, how you doing? It's going to be one of those streams. No, I'll be fine. Does tea count as a soup? I think so, yeah. I didn't really engage much with the tea banter because it was the Tuesday stream, and you know the Tuesdays are more like focused on the content as opposed to focused on the banter. Walking's fantastic for you. Yeah, no, absolutely. Don't sleep in tomorrow, yeah. Either I'll be there or I won't, Dave. I'm sure I'll be fine. Until you take the bag out. Oh yes, soup. So I have pretty severe opinions on soup. I like soup. There is only one soup though, and it's any tomato soup. Anything that isn't tomato soup can get fucked. I'm not having it. I'm not interested. I don't care. Get out. Not keen. So that's kind of where I'm at on the soup discussion. He actually looks too tired to make jokes about it. Great. Thanks, mate. Well, last time, not last week, but the week before, we did unfortunately have some internet issues, which means that this is a very specific stream where we're going to get through a whole load of lists. So let's not take too long getting into it. There are some that make me upset. I'm not going to lie to you. There are some that I've read, and I'm like, don't stop. Why are you doing this to me? But we'll get through those. We'll see how it goes. Antonio, hey, from Wirral. Very nice. No, I'm not tomato soup. Okay. So, people are more than welcome to shout up if they're here, because it's always better to do the list when people are here. And Papa Wheelie, I can just see, has commented. So, Papa Wheelie, we're going to start with your list. And your list was, it didn't make me upset, but the restrictions, like when I was putting the list together, made me go, ugh. And that's fine. Oh, no, you're not allowed to look at this. This is for the VIPs. Okay, so Papa Wheelie said, gearing up for the Bay Area Open in May. The below is my starting point. I have 2 must-have items. You want to use at least a couple of chariots. Very cool. I can get behind that. And you must have a scroll of transmogrification, because your team name is the Frog Gigan Guild, and you have an internal competition as to who can catch the most frogs. So, let's just immediately look at the item you're talking about, because most people won't know what you're talking about. Connor's here as well. And your Hoop Jones there as well, Brian. Cool. So, once per game, instead of dispelling, so already we're off to a bad start, the spell goes off, and then you have to roll equal to or under the casting wizard's level of wizardry. So this is normally terrible. This is 50 points, normally an abysmally bad item, and that's because on a 4+, you just turn back into a normal person. However, I did think of the one time that it matters, and it's if you are playing with, you know, some sort of like dragon sorcerer. If you're playing Dark Elves, or Chaos can do it as well. High Elves can do it. There are a number of armies that can bring wizards on dragons. Because it turns all of your stats to 1. All of their stats to 1, apart from wounds. So, you like, if you get them in combat, if you can get a wizard in combat, and then they try and like hammer hand you, or if you're playing against like the illusion caster, like vampire counts do it, but they're only a level 2, so you're pretty unlikely to pull it off. Like, if you manage to get like an illusion caster who comes in, uses spectral doppelganger, you allow it to go off, so you take a load of punishment, but then you turn them to everything, all of their stats are 1s. I feel like you just kind of auto kill that. That frog, because you can't use any equipment. So you just hit on 2s, you wound on 2s. Hey!
What are you fat tipping on your face for your team Scotland and England's intellectual matchup? A Wheelie is traditional.
Yeah, so I've seen. For those of you who aren't up to date, thanks Goldfire for putting it in the VIP chat. This is too funny. So Richie's put a short out saying, you know, going to on the road, going to do a Team England scrim, and then Pash, who is one of our opponents for this weekend, has made a mockery of that video. Felt tipped some poor impressions of tattoos on his face, and I think he's had a penis on his face. But yeah, just saying, you know, it's all over, blah blah blah. So looking forwards to absolutely kicking his teeth in. That's going to be fun. Okay, frog the dragon mage into poison stars if the secret check. Dave, you don't need to frog the, like, if they have a dragon mage, it's capped at a 4 up armor save anyway, so it's super doomed. Like, there is a way that the dragon list wins. It's not if it's a dragon wizard. That's just not happening. Okay, so there is the one-time use, and I'm glad you're here, because I wanted to talk to you about this. You've gone dark magic. Now, dark magic is fine, question mark. Word of Pain's obviously a very good debuff. You can't debuff the frog to be strength and toughness 0, unfortunately. Stream of Corruption is bad. Infernal Gateway is conditionally decent. Honestly, it's not bad with chariots. Phantasmagoria is... people like it. I'm not sold on it, but it's not a bad spell. Battle Lust is obviously incredible, and then Soul Eater is kind of dog shit. Is there a combination between Transfiguration and the Deathglow Brass Orb? Probably. But then you're taking a bad item to make your bad army do better. I'm not... Like, we're living in magical Christmas land if we go for that. So, are you taking dark magic purely to buff up the Forsaken? Is that the thinking? Because honestly, everything you have kind of hits hard in melee anyway. I think you'd probably be better off just going for like a Zinch caster, realistically. If you just go triple spells, so blue fire, fireball, and pillar of fire, then you stick a ruby ring on there as well. That's probably just better than what you've got. 50% of battle magic is useless on that cast. I was thinking of maximizing useful spells. Yeah, but over 50% of dark magic is useless, just in general. Both law, like individual spells, assailments are just not good. I genuinely think this list gets rounded out quite nicely if you change this from being dark to battle. You take 5 spells. You only care about blue fire, pillar of fire, arcane urgency, and the other one. Whatever the last magic missile is. And do you have points for ruby ring on here as well? Yeah. So like here immediately, this is like, it's very expensive, don't get me wrong, and I'd rather have infernal puppet than the scroll, but this will pick up all of the things that your army can't deal with, and what your army can't deal with is fast stuff, skirmishes, lightly armored stuff that's going to try and get round you, because you're inherently quite a slow army because you've gone chariots and gigantic spawn. So I think having some ranged output would be really good. Only 4 points left. Oh, we overcapped. Bugger. Oh, no. Okay, so we're going to take the ruby ring off. Honestly, we can do without the ruby ring, and you still get the same thing. There is an obvious fix to this. We drop the scroll, but I know you want to play around with it, so we're keeping it. That's absolutely fine. The other change that I'd recommend is these don't have to be flails. I don't know if you've got this from watching my Chaos videos where I've been playing flails on chariots. That's only if you're playing counter-charging chariots. Here, they're relatively tanky. You've gone for the triple save. I just go for the great weapons. Having the plus strength every turn is more important than the initiative, in my opinion. And getting the extra armor bane is huge, because if you get like tied up into something that's got a 2-up armor save, you can find that with a 4-up save, they will just make more saves than you're comfortable with. If you spike a couple of 6s, it makes it much easier for them to fail some saves. The next change is, let's change the talismans over. So you've gone, there's 2 talismans. They're both basically exactly the same. And that's the Crown of Everlasting Conquest and the which is just 40 points for a regen 5-up, and then the Talisman of the Carrion Crow, which is 5-up regen and poison attacks. So we're going to put the poison attacks on the Exalted Champion because it gets more attacks. I understand what you're probably trying to do is trying to even these two out so they both do roughly the same, but you may as well get the +1 attack for the poison to actually make more use out of it. This is already doing stuff because it's got the BSB War Banner triple save, so it's really hard to deal with. It's got static 3 combat res. It's okay in combat. If it wins, it's going to, chase up with impact hits. I'd just make that change there. Good evening, Existence. Hope you're doing well. I'm not. I'm losing the will. We've got Double Forsaken, then you've got the Warhounds. I can see you've gone for the poisoned attacks here. I'm assuming that's literally just so you get the exact 500 points. There's nothing wrong with doing that in terms of like hitting the points cap. It's obviously poison attacks are not particularly useful on them, but it's probably the most efficient way to get to exactly 500. So, it is what it is, and yeah, exactly. Cool. I'm glad you're here, because we're going to... when I was copying and pasting the list, I was going to have to put some sort of disclaimer in saying poison attacks are bad, but as long as you know that, we're all good. Chaos Spawned with Khorne. I find these surprisingly okay. I don't hate them. So they're a bit slow. They're only 2d6 inch move, and they are T5 with heavy armor, so they're not tanky, but tanky-ish. They, don't fall over immediately to a fireball, for example. They have really random attacks, so they are the slot machine. They're d6 attacks at weapon skill 3, so if you're going into anything good, you might be hitting on 5s. They have got Armor Bane, which is nice, and you've gone for Khorne, which is Spawn of Khorne, Killing Blow. So really nice just to have there. I don't think they're the most efficient choice, but I also don't think they're bad. And when I've played them, I was playing them in Heralds of Darkness, I think, because I couldn't take actual marked units and they don't count as a marked unit. I was reasonably impressed by them, so they're not awful. 1 unit of 3 or 3 units of 1? That's a great question. That is a great question. I think 3 units of 1 is a really good shout, actually. Now, full disclosure, haven't played with them at all. But I think this is... So, you're already, really heavy drops, right? So you've got 5 in core, you've got 2 here, and you've got 3, 1 in character. So you're already at 8. So this takes you up to 11 instead of 9. But I think you weren't going first, you weren't getting the +1 to go first anyway. If you had more condensed core drops, I'd say go for a single model, because that way, or a single unit, that way you wouldn't be putting your core drops up too high. But I think this is really interesting. Anthony says, are Chaos Giants good or Gigantic Spawns are better? Giants, unfortunately, in Old World are pretty terrible, in my opinion. Gigantic Spawn are also probably the most undercosted and efficient monster, like non-character monster. And they give some of the character monsters a run for the money as well. They're really, really solid. But yeah, I actually quite like this. Obviously, this would be better if you put a dragon in it. Goes without saying. But there's nothing wrong with playing, warriors are already a pretty solid army. So if you're taking a slightly less optimal comp, it's not really the end of the world. This is a list that, if you play it well, I think you shouldn't have an issue going like 3 and 2 with. With some good play, you could definitely get up to a 4 and 1, depending on matchups. I think this is solid. I really like it. I don't love the frog. I'm not going to tell you what to do, in my professional opinion. Oh, God, can I say professional opinion? That feels wankery. In my opinion, I would say maybe we take the frog scroll off and you put the ruby ring on. But I understand why you're doing what you're doing, and I respect you for it. No worries at all. It was an interesting list. Thank you very much. All right. I'm going to talk about yours, Hoop Jones, who has the real name on here, Brian. Brian, you upset me. You upset me deeply because you put this in my channel. Why have you done this to me? Are you here to justify your actions? I need to hear from you, Brian. So just while we're waiting for Brian to put his hand up, this list is just so many fucking skeletons, and then it's some support characters. Of course, you can say in my professional opinion, but only while wearing the waistcoat. True. Or while wearing Team England kit, but the Team England kit hasn't arrived yet. But we have paid for it, so it should be getting sent off sooner rather than later. Dave says, list looks good to me. Be a quick section, this one. Dave, none of them have shooting. They don't have poison bows or fanatics. I think you're lost. So, Hoop Jones hasn't shouted up, so I'm going to just critique the list in terms of what I think, if we're maximising to the theme. So, if we're maximising to the theme, first of all, we're going to get rid of this third unit. We're going to put level 4 on both of these wizards. We're going to get rid of the third wizard. We're going to make the third wizard a BSB. So we're going to go White Lord, Battle Standard Bearer. And then I'm just going to make it, like, cheap but tanky, You've got loads of points in core, Fluffy 3 Scream list. Yeah. So I think we can afford to give it a Talisman of Protection, honestly. So let's do that. And let's go Biting Blade? Sure. So the White Lord, it's probably more points than we need to spend on it, but let's do it anyway. Let's go War Banner, and can you put the Drakenhof banner here? Yeah, one of the units gets the ward save. One of the units gets the regen, sorry. The other unit gets the stacked up combat res, and I think that makes sense. So both units are defendable-ish. I would reduce that unit down to 98 and use the points for something else. No. We can't be losing one model, because you've got to be efficient, right? The White Lord's on a skeletal speed, just to add +1 to save, in case people are wondering why I did that. Both of these are level 4, because level 4 is just exponentially better for Undead. You get more on your reses, you get more on your casting, more spells. It's really important to have. The other thing we're going to do, the Master Necromancer on the Morse Engine, great unit. The arcane items are good, Scepter and the Spell Familiar here. And then we're going to go... Where's it gone? There we go, Crown of the Damned. So it gives you a 4-up ward and stupidity, but... Oh, damn, I didn't think you'd actually look at this. Called out, Brian, called out. So the 4-up ward's really solid. Obviously, you get stupidity, but we've changed the third acolyte, the third wizard, that was only a level 1 wizard, so it wasn't doing much. We've changed it for the BSB. The reason the BSB is really good, for anyone who isn't aware, the undead BSBs give you reroll on all leadership tests, and that includes stupidity, so you can take the 4-up ward save pretty safely. And then the second thing that you're doing is you're rerolling all of your res tests, so you're more likely to get the reses off. Here, I really like the double Tomb Banshee, and we've got double Necromancer. Honestly, here, I would be tempted to... I know you lose out on your actual spell lore, but I think I'd be tempted to go Lore Familiar here. No, you know what? Let's just go for another spell familiar. You can do it, so why not? And let's go for the skull staff, so you've got more of a dispel threat. Because if we're doing it, and that takes us nicely up to the cap, which was definitely deliberate and not at all just me putting things in. Undead BSBs are busted? Yeah, hell yeah, they are. They are incredibly good. They are real spicy. Okay, so that's putting us up to here, and that leaves us, okay, we're over on points, so we are going to adjust. So let's go 80 here, let's go 80 here. We do need another unit. Oops, I've got 802. And then let's go the requisite units of zombies, because going first and having stuff to res I think is quite important. Oh yeah, you didn't put musicians in these units as well. Musicians are huge for Undead, because if you tie on combat res and then you win, you've got a massive unit. You're probably making them flee no matter what. I know this looks dumb on paper, but challenges, as in you want a challenge to play. I mean, so this to me screams like points denial teams list. If your opponent doesn't want to give up any points, they won't, but you can just kind of sit there and forever tie them up with all of these cheap chaff. So one of the reasons you go 73 is a lot of places use like 150 points as their first break point. So if your opponent only manages to kill 2 unit zombies here, they get 148 points on their victory points, even if you kill nothing. So that's still a 10-10 draw, even if they kill both units of zombies and you get no points. So that's why you go 23 on both of them. You mean you can challenge with the res skeleton champs? Yeah, you can do that. You could do that with normal undead as well. But like, we're maximizing to a theme here, so we do need to go a little bit smaller. So the unit with the Drakenhof banner can stay big, and the unit that's going to get the extra combat res is going to go down to 75. So we go down to only 155 skeletons, but we add in 46 zombies, and our characters are better. So I think that's pretty solid there. Okie dokie. I can take this off. I don't need it. There we go. No, I can leave it on, actually. It just turned off in my ear, but that's because I'm not playing anything. Yeah, so we're going to go at Hoop Jones. Hoop Jones, you motherfucker. That's a funny list. I appreciate that. All right. I do want to see you playing it now, though. It's known as a small royal host, then. A royal gathering. Royal host has the bows in the melee unit, though, Dave, so, you know, they're missing out there. I legit am going to try and run something like this. Yeah, hell yeah. I mean, give it a go. It's the sort of thing that's quite fun to play, I think, once on Warhol. I'm not sure I'd ever play it a second time, but it's probably fun to play just the once. Let me just make sure I've got the audio stream muted. Yeah, there we go. Just wanted something in the background to keep my mind focused. Boy! Nick, hope you get to my ogres, but understand this is very popular. Nick, do not worry. We have got your ogres up. Someone else said they were here. So Hassa Flavor's here. Hoop Jones said he's here. I think we can go for your list next, Nick. Let's do it. So there are 2 ogre lists, which is pretty wild, and that's why the picture is ogres. So, ogres, ogres, ogres. I think there are some... First time joining the stream? Hell yeah, glad to have you. I feel like I've gone over the hump of tiredness, and the tea's definitely helped, but I've hit like the mania stage, so I'm at 110% right now. So I've just got to ride that wave out. All right, Nick, let's have a look. Did you put any disclaimers? Nick, Orc by Phil's been here. Hell yeah, sweet. Nick, whoop! This is a list for my autistic son. Hell yeah, absolutely. The family that games together stays together. Okay, so you said trying to make an easy-to-play ogre list. Guidance much appreciated. So is this for sort of like you and your son to play together? Is that the thinking? So the level that you're playing at might not be, we need to deal with dragons, but it's just let's have 2 units of infantry or 2 armies of infantry kind of running at each other. Hey, Chris, how you doing? Anthony, it wasn't, I'm afraid. It was after the cut-off. Connor, Lord Kibbleston. Ah, yes. You have said that before, and I just forget. Connor? Did you submit your list again, or is it up? Is this just the one that you submitted before, and you haven't resubmitted one? Because I'll have to go and search that out if that's the case. But we can deal with that when we get to it. All right, Nick. In that case, we don't have to be too harsh with the tweaks. I think the list is fine. So what I do here, the Saber Tusks, you said you wanted it to be easy to play. I think I'd go 2 units of 2 on the Saber Tusks, and you just use them as sort of like introducing fast-moving, annoying little chaff units. The Ogre Bulls, I probably wouldn't go as high as 5, but it's also not the end of the world that you have, and you've got to fill up your points with something. And I'm assuming that because you've got 7 Iron Guts here, that's probably as many as you have. So this is fine, and we probably don't want to add too many additional rules onto it. So just keeping them with great weapons, heavy armor, putting a standard in there, so we've got more of a concept of static combat res is quite good as well, if you're looking for something easy to play. Veteran's good, but again, if you're wanting to keep it simple, you could probably just leave that off so that all of your units interact in the same way for the last time. No worries, Connor. I'll go back and find that later on. So I think the core here looks solid for what you're going for. You've got a single cannon and you've got a unit of Mournfang Cavalry. I think that's really solid as well. What you could do is you could give the Cannibal Totem to the Mournfang Cavalry. It gives them a 5-up region. It makes them really tanky. If you're playing Kitchen Table Warhammer, this might actually make them too strong, which is wild to say for Ogres, but it's a lot of stats. So I'm going to leave it off, but consider putting the Cannibal Totem on. If you find that, you know, this unit's not surviving for as long as you want, you can make some cuts elsewhere. It'd be super easy to do. Just take them out of core here. With the Tyrant, love it. It's a big beastie. You've gone for Giant Breaker, so you get to reroll, I think it's once against an enemy. Oh no, +1 strength, and they can't refuse a challenge or flee. Easy to play list. You're not running away anyway. You're going straight in. That's great. Great weapon's good. And you've gone for the Gutmore, which is you heal in challenges, and it's a heavy armor, which I like that. You don't get to use the armor save of the Stonehorn, which does come as full plate if you're using the Gutmore. So just keep that in mind that you're only getting the 5-up save. But if you've taken some wounds, you might want to hit your opponent, pardon me, really hard and heal up a little bit. Is it? Yeah, each wound you cause in a challenge, recover a wound. Spangle Shard is cool, don't get me wrong. I quite like it on a melee tyrant. In this case, I'd probably just go Talisman of Protection, because as soon as you roll a 1, you're losing the ward save. So let's just make it nice and easy. Let's go for the 5-up ward that you can't lose. I actually think it's probably better if you're only running one large target, having a 4-up save all the time, because otherwise I'm just going to put loads of sort of like chaff shooting into you. You know, loads of bows. If you get one of them sneaks through, you lose your ward save, and then I can charge into you with my dragon, cause you some real issues. But yeah, I think this is solid. The Slaughtermaster, honestly, this is fine as well. I guess we're changing the Talisman of Protection over to the Spangle Shard, because in this case you want to be more defensive. You're going to take less hits on the Slaughtermaster. So actually having the ward save that goes away when you're only being hit a couple of times in the game is not too bad here. And I think this is solid. Again, you know, you've got a tanky bruiser, you've gone for a BSB, you haven't got any for any magic standards, but that'll make it easier to remember. You've just kind of got a death brick running around here, you've got the Mournfang Cavalry as well, and then everything else looks solid. Yeah, it looks good to me. I think this is good. We've made a couple of small tweaks, but I think for what you're looking for, you've written a pretty solid list. So let me put that in. It was at Nick. That's your avatar there. Raphael, you missed the cutoff again. I'm sorry to hear that, Raphael. What I'll do is I'll put you in my spreadsheet so you've got number 1 priority. Because I'm up to like 15 lists already. I couldn't go any longer, honestly. I probably should have cut it off before. But you'll have number 1 priority for next fortnight stream. Don't worry, Nick. Glad to help. All right, what are we working with here? Let's go up. What was the next one we're looking at? Orc Boy Phil, I said we'd get to yours next. Let's have a look at that one. So, Phil, what are we talking? Oh, yeah, White Wolf Knightly Order. This is a fun one. I did have a quick look at this as I was putting it in. I did have, I think, some thoughts in it. So, this is just like pure violence, right? So I think it falls down. The issue is you probably don't win games against dragon armies. I don't know what your answer to dragon is, but I think if you're playing this style of list, you're kind of just accepting it. This is because I'm tired. This is Jordan's list. Sorry, I clicked the wrong thing. We'll get to the White Wolf list. This is Orc Boy Phil's list. God damn. Man, it's almost like I'm sleep deprived. Thanks for catching that, Phil. Strifer, yeah, we will get to that one next. We'll go to Jordan's list after this one. So, Phil, you had Tooth Snatcher, who is solid. Obviously gives you the free close order here, the ability to do some bits and pieces. You were confuzzled. Yeah, me too, mate. I think Hicknick's actually surprisingly interesting. So he's got 4 attacks, only weapon skill 5, so he's a Goblin Big Boss equivalent. He has Skull Smasher, which is a Strength +2, AP -1, Armor Bane 2, which is okay. Or you can use it as Strength User, AP 2, Armor Bane 2, multiple wounds 2. So if you're going against multiple wound models, you have a lower strength, but better AP. I don't really follow the logic, but I think he's interesting. And he hits reasonably hard. He's got a lot of rules in there. Kicknick rules, yeah. For 105 points, I'm very happy to put him in a list. Gets a list from Orc Boy Phil and thinks it's Empire must be the main. Yeah, it 100% is, yeah. So, Phil. Phil, you've wasted 4 points, so I can immediately just change that over. You've given your War Boss a great weapon, and you've also given it the Ogre Blade, so we don't need to worry about that. Unless you only play against Vols and making High Elves, which I'm assuming is not the case. You've gone for the Ogre Blade and the Talisman of Protection. Now, this is not the standard loadout. The standard loadout is the tanky loadout. However, the more I think about it, the more I quite like this loadout, because you hit hard. Your Wyvern doesn't do anything, so you can't just stack saves in the way that you can on a normal dragon. So I think having a threat that flies around just goes, what are you going to do? I've got 5 attacks in the charge, weapon skill 7. It's a shame you can't get Paymaster's Coin in here as well, but it does hit hard. And you still got a 3-up save and a 5-up ward with 7 wounds, T6. It's pretty decent. I like it. And then you've got an Odd Knob on a Chariot, and you've got the Weird Knob with a Staff of Badum. So here, immediately, I'm seeing that there's no lore familiar, which I think is wrong. I'm assuming on the Goblin, you want to leave it so you can take the Itchy Nuisance, which is a really strong spell. So I think what we do is we look at going the Orc War Boss, Orc Weird Knob, maybe change that one to the lore familiar. Where are you hiding from me? There we go. And then the Goblin Odd Knob can go for the Staff of Badum, because it's solid. For anyone who hasn't seen this, you get to add plus D3 to any casting roll you make. However, if you roll any double 1 or 6, you make a blast template over yourself before you do the miscast, so you could potentially double blast template yourself. And it destroys the staff as well. But still, that's a 1 in 18. That's not super likely. So I think that's fine. Was there anything in here that you'd said in regards to your list? I feel like there was, and I can't remember. Only got the 6 Wolf Riders. You want mostly Wolf Riders. Yeah, I thought there was something in there. Boom! Hell yeah! I do like the boom. So let's have a look at what you've got. This is, and I say this with love, Phil, this is a war crime. You've put in an Orc Boy unit without taking a magic banner. The magic banners that Orcs have are probably the best spread of magic banners in the game. I think 7 Biggins is really good. I think it's a really good unit. The only thing I'm changing, I'm going to put the Banner of Butchery on there. Gives them +1 strength on the charge, and it basically turns them into 2 attack lances. And, 202 points for 7 models. That comes in at what? Just under 30 points a model. 29, 28. With all of the upgrades, the full command, including the shields, the Vanguard. 2 attacks at strength 6, AP 2, Armor Bane 1, rerolling 1 to the wound. I think it's really, really good. I like it. The Giant, I don't think Giants are good. However, people are allowed pet units, so I'm not going to touch that unless you say that you're not too bothered about having it. I think it's a 200-point sink, and I think Nomadic War is fine, but I think it's not one of the more, it's not on the higher end of the list. It's sort of like middling in terms of army strength. So you could take this out and make the list better, but if you're not too worried about that, leave it in. It's absolutely fine. We're going to get rid of this unit of 5 goblins because it was just 5 goblins with no upgrades. They weren't doing much, and that puts us almost at cap. Yeah, not too bothered. Okay, Well, in that case, let's take out the giant, and we'll come back and, you know, potentially do as we want later on. So you've got a big unit of Goblin Wolf Riders, which I like. I think, personally, if you're going for this unit, let's commit to them. Let's give them the big red raggedy flag, and that gets you up to weapon skill 3, which is quite important, because it means when you get hit back, you're probably not getting hit on 2s, which is going to make a big difference in terms of winning combats. I also wouldn't mind a BSB in there, you know? Can we put, like, a Goblin BSB in? Goblin Big Boss, BSB. Let's give him War Banner, Light Armor Shield, Giant Wolf, Cav Spear. He's a Black Oak Chariot. Thanks, Chris. That's a great spot. That's a fantastic spot. That's your general, so you can put it in. Oh, no, he's got one already. That's why I hadn't noticed it. Strifey says, hell yeah, get that combat res 7. I think you can do it. So you get 2 from the War Banner here, the Goblin Big Boss. You get 3 from the Standard, 4 from the Big Red Raggedy Flag, 5 from the Close Order, 2 from the ranks. Because you only get 2 ranks on Cavalry, I believe. I know you do for Heavy Cavalry. I think it's the same for Light. But you are also Horde because of Kicknick. So this gets you exactly where you want to be. Yeah, no worries, Chris. It's not a problem. I think here we upgrade to great weapons. I think I'm a big fan of great weapons on the chariots. And where does that leave us? 40 points under. I think I'd be tempted just to make this chappy a little bit more survivable. Give him the Trollhide trousers. Oh, 9. Oh God, we're so far over on points. Okay, if we're over on points, I'm not actually super bothered about the BSB. It'd be nice to have, but it's kind of a luxury, I think. Because you'd have to lose a lot here, right? So I don't necessarily want to lose what you've put in. Well, that leads us in an odd spot. We've got just under 150 points, which you could put... Honestly, you know what? You could put a second unit of Ball Boys in. I'm going to fill this in. Tell me how you feel about a second unit of Ball Boys. The second unit isn't quite as good as the first unit, but you can have 2 vanguarding units, so if you want to get that aggressive push going, you can do that. So we take off the Biggins, we take off the Banner of Butchery. Honestly, on the second unit, it kind of comes down to Spider Banner or Angry Lad's Flag. Both are fine. Let's just go with the Angry Lad's Flag, make them frenzied and get loads of attacks. Which would be 40 points over. And I think the easiest way to do that is just shave one of the chariots off, because you've still got 4 plus the wizard if you want to go in there. And then maybe put 1 more in here. Oh, of course, that ruins it. Oh, this unit would really like to have a musician. And something like that. I think this is like a solid nomadic war. I think it's added more pressure. I have 20 Bone Slitter Ball Boys. You can have a... Hell yeah, there we go. They look pretty frenzied to me, so I think that works. Well, Phil, I think this is some pretty decent changes. And I haven't said this here, but anyone who I make changes to the list, you know, feel free to @me in the channels. You know, so in this case, it would be the Orc channel if you want to talk about more changes, or if you play some games and you like some bits and you don't like some bits, do feel free to have a chat with me on those if you fancy it. Perfect. Lovely, lovely stuff. All right, so Connor said Lord Kibbleston, wasn't it? Let's have a look here. Might have to take off streamer mode to find you. From Lord Kibbleston. Okay, so let's have a look at the list in here, because I haven't put it in my army builder. So you're wanting a good themed wolves list, you said, Chris. Okay, so you've got a dragon. The dragon loadout is fine. I don't think... if I'm not going Ogre Blade, I don't think I want to go for the Enchanting Aura. I think I change this to one of the regens, honestly. I think that would be really strong. can I go over the ethereal vampire counts list? Not this evening, I'm afraid, buddy. I'm catching up on 2 weeks ago's list, but if you want to submit it for the next stream, feel free to put that as a request in. I'll happy to to get to it. Dragon is off theme for wolves. What is a dragon if not just a big wolf, eh? Or something. I got bought this for my 30th birthday at the job that I used to have, and about a month before I left, I was sat drinking out of it, and someone there who I liked and talked to quite a lot asked me, "Oh, how old are you?" And I said 25, while sat drinking out of this mug. And they believed me, which I thought was hilarious. Get that Lord of Pony? No, I think this is fine for Wolves of the Sea. Yeah, you can have like an absolute god amongst men just running around on a dragon while you lead the berserker hordes. Dragon and wolf, basically the same. Yeah, exactly. I'm glad we're on the same page. The Exalted Champ Sorcerer with the Infernal Puppet. I have seen people do this. I think it's an interesting, because you can't take a level 4, right? So I think this is fine. It's more about having the magic defense, which is not awful. Into core, I like these. I don't necessarily think Mark of Nurgle's particularly useful. They're probably going to die to shooting. They're not necessarily going to die to anything else. But if you're going for, you said you were going for themed, so if that's a big part of the theme, don't worry about leaving it on. It's not like a major issue. I'd be tempted to, instead of going for 10s, go for like 3 units of 6 or something like that. Like a 7, a 7, and a 6. Just spread them out a little bit more. Just because I think units of 10 are as easy to kill as units of 7. And if you've made people split the fire, it's harder for them to kill them. Yeah, that 25-year-old looks like the type of guy to use a mug that's clearly not theirs. Yeah, me. I'm a thief. That's why I got... Not going to make that joke. Warhounds here. So on the Warhounds, you want to take off the poison attacks and the armoured hide. They're just not efficient to have. Leave the Vanguard on, that's good. The Berserkers, again, I'd probably change them into smaller units. If you're capped at rule of 3, then maybe that's where you start going for bigger units, but that's fine. Marauder Horsemen, I think this is a perfect place to go for... Oh, this is probably where the Zinch caster goes, I'd assume, actually. Yeah, no, 10 is fine. You could go for a couple of smaller units if you want to use them separately, or you can use them as a unit of 10 as a bunker for the Zinch Wizard. I think that's super fine. No rule of 3? Yeah, absolutely. That 30, I think if you make it 5 units of 6, and you make this 20, like a 7, a 7, and a 6, immediately you're making people have a lot more issues in killing your army. Skin Wolves, unit of 4, no character. Love it. Dragon Ogres, 3, no Shartak. Love it. Gigantic Spawn, Mark and Nurgle. Love it. I think this is solid. I think this is a really solid list. The only real quibble I have with it is how you've arrayed your core. So I think if you change your core up, you've got a pretty solid Wolves of the Sea list there. And the guaranteed going first with the Chaos Lord, I think is really decent. The only other thing you could do is you could... So, oh yes, and change the Chaos Lord from having the Enchanting Aura to having the regen item that gives you poison as well. Talisman of whatever it's called. But yeah, I think you could very comfortably make this a battle magic caster, give it the Lore Familiar and a Power Scroll, and just try and turn 1 Arcane Urgency, the Chaos Lord, into your opponent's lines. I think that's another option you could go for, but both are fine. Struggling a bit for ideas? No worries. You pretty much nailed it, I think. So just like a couple of tweaks, and I think this is a pretty solid list. Damn, Chaos Lords can do that. Chaos Lords be doing things, Yeah, they're just there. They out here doing things. Cool. Let's get on to Jordan G. Apologies for starting your list and then stopping if you're watching. Jordan. This list, we as I mentioned before, I think it loses to dragons, which sucks. I'm sorry to say that, but if we're taking dragons out of the equation, this will beat up on the mid tables pretty heavily, I think. So there's a double Pegasus Chapter Master, which I think is, it's solid, honestly. So a Chapter Master, because the Order of the White Wolf, as you can see here, gives you the Wolf Hammer. It gives you +1 strength on the charge from the Great Hammer, the Wolf Hammer, sorry, and it gives you Furious Charge as well. So if you're charging over 3 inches, your strength 6, You're AP2, you've got 4 attacks, which I think is really solid. You get a 5-up ward against flaming. That's going to come up surprisingly often as a lone character. And what else have we got here? Full plate shield, which takes you up to a 3-up armor save. Pegasus, unfortunately, don't have barding. No, I thought they did for a second there. So you've only got a 3-up save. One of them's got the Ruby Ring of Ruin, which is okay. I don't necessarily love it. And then this one's got the Shield of Warrior True. These are fine. I would have maybe preferred to see actual ward saves on them, but you've put the actual ward saves on the Grandmaster and the High Priest, so it just sort of depends how you fill them around. Callum says, I once dropped my work to found my former breast. Alright, I just had a stroke, and my apologies. Let me try that again. I once dropped by my work to drop something off on a day off and found my former best friend drinking coffee out my baby Yoda mug. I'm assuming it's former best friend because they were drinking out of your cup. I'm assuming that's the reason. Chris says, love these streams, learn a lot about armies I don't play. Hell yeah, glad to hear it. Helps me keep my finger on the pulse as well. I think if you want to be a good player, the best way to do it is have a good understanding of how all of the other armies work, which the burden of knowledge for that is way lower than it is for something like 40k. I think it's relatively easy to stay engaged in terms of how all of the old world lists play. Obviously there are adaptations, but if you learn about it 6 months ago, it's not that much work to catch up now. Did they laugh you out of the mug store when you bought a baby Yoda mug? No, I'm a big fan of having, letting people enjoy the things that they like, right? Hence why I've got not 1, but 2 big pink mugs. These things are great. I got them from Primark, which I don't support Primark as a company where I can help it, but super cheap, keep my water cold. Good stuff. Strifey says, I can't keep up with 40k and play like once a week. Yeah, 100%. You have to be super tapped in to understand it. Right, okay, so what do we got here? So the Grandmaster is... it does have the Wolf Hammer, which looks like it might be a mistake, but it's not a mistake. It's how the rule's written. You have to have a Wolf Hammer, even though you're buying an Ogre Blade, which is very funny. But... you do have 4 attacks base, you get up to a 5th attack with the Furious Charge, so it's one of the better Ogre Blade holders. The problem comes in that you're only weapon skill 6, I think? Yeah, which is okay, but it's not jaw-dropping. So you're going to be hit on 3s by a lot of the things you want to kill. But, it's not awful. Let me just put this into streamer mode again, because I'm getting notifications. There we go. Yeah, I think this is solid. And then the High Priest. So the High Priest is kitted out with the Twice Blessed Armor, which is the full plate that gives you Hammer Hand. Haven't gone for a shield here, which I think is just because it's got the Great Weapon and then Talisman of Protection. So you got a 4-up, 5-up, which is fine. Let's just remind ourselves the prayers, because I guess you're going for the plus... yeah, so this one's really sad. Battle Howl. Battle Howl, the way prayers work is you roll against your leadership in the command phase. If you equal or are lower to your leadership, your prayer goes off. There's no rerolls or anything like that. It's just your unmodified leadership, so you've got to use your own. And Battle Howl looks like it should be good. It gives you plus D3 to your charge, but it doesn't give you plus D3 to your charge range, which is when that ability is really powerful. Multiple Wounds 2, again, seems like it should be good on paper, but a lot of the things you charge, you're not going to be actually making use of, because if it's a single character on a dragon, they just challenge you out if they're worried. And then there's, like, the Mark and Nurgle effect, which is pretty good as well. Yes. Hey, everybody, wasn't able to get my list typed out this week. You'll grace us with it next time. Hell yes, Horrendous. Just start working on it now, and then when I put the call out not next Thursday, the Thursday after, you'll have time to submit that one. Silverhorn's really nice, so it's a lot of consistency that you're getting here. Silverhorn gives you a reroll on the charge, I believe it is. Yeah, reroll the d6 on the Swift Stride, which I think is really solid. So I like this character setup. I mean, I'd be putting a shield on it, but we don't have the points to do it without tweaking. Strife says, I think more is the way to go. I agree, but this hits hard. This is like I'm just bringing it to slap. I think this would be a solid teams list if you could find the matchups where you don't have to care about dealing with a dragon. Maybe this actually becomes half decent. There's 2 units of Knights of the White Wolf. They're both drilled and stubborn, which is nuts for you know, what you can put on normal Empire Knights. They've got counter charge, they've got first charge. These are so good for, you know, once you've layered all of the rules on top of them. Furious charge as well. Really solid. One of them's got the war banner, otherwise full command, which I think is fine. And then you've got triple demigryphs, 2 of them without command, and then 1 with full command, and the Icon of More, which upgrades their fear to terror, and also the Witch Hunter's Ward as well, which gives them a reroll on one of the armor saves, and it also gives them magic resist 2. This is fine. When you've got lots of units that do the same sort of thing, I'm not sure I love the magic resist there, but also, if you want to put this in a position where you think you're going to get Miasmic Miraged, having one that you feel more comfortable getting it through is probably fine. I don't think it's wrong. It's just, you know, I'm not sure I'd have spent the points on it. But yeah, I think this is solid. I don't really have any comments or tweaks that I'd make around this. So yeah, I think this is interesting. Other than, as Strifey says, more is probably better because you can still take wizards. But I think this is good. I'm a little bit worried about the tankiness of these two, especially this Chapter Master here, the one that doesn't have a ward save at all. 3 wounds at T4 with a 3-up armor save is, like, okay-ish, but it can just fall over to a Ruby Ring of Ruin, which is ironic given that that's what it's holding. So, yeah, I don't know. It's not awful, but it's there. I haven't made any changes, so I'm just not going to link it because I don't necessarily think that's worth doing. On to, I've seen you in, you might call yourself Hassa Flavor, I call you Hassa because your name runs together on YouTube. We've got the Expeditionary Force list, and I think you had some comments to do with this one as well. Let's have a quick look in here. A fun dwarf list that is different but also not getting run over completely. This was a surprising pain to put in. It's not a problem, but like, because all of these have different runes, you've got to go through and be like, okay, so I've got this and this, this and this. So X-Force is pretty okay, I think. The first order of business, have you played with this list? Have you played with the Thunderers? Even with, so they have a rule here, Expeditionary Marksman, which means that they don't take penalties for moving and shooting, which means that they also don't get Ponderous, which makes them actually pretty okay. I am not super sold, especially on a unit of 20. Yeah, it's a pain. As in, this unit of Thunderers is a pain. Because I might be tempted just to move it over to more Rangers, honestly. I think they're more self-sufficient. And you're Dwarf, so people are going to come towards you anyway, right? That's probably my initial thoughts anyway. But I guess that is your sort of like one melee unit that you could put the Runesmith into. Anyway, Burlock's good. If you finish this one with more than 4 carries in the list, we riot. Yeah, very good. So Burlock's really solid. So part of the reason that people will take the Thunderers is because they Burlock has the rule Range Finding Optics, which gives Thunderers or Quarrelers the ability to reroll natural rolls of 1 to hit. I think because you've got Bolt Throwers, I'm not super bothered about this because you can use it on the War Machine, or like for the reroll the artillery dice, or you can just give one of them reroll 1 to hit. Bunker of characters to pin for mines. Okay, yeah, sure, that makes sense then. I think this is, like, the miners are a very expensive part of the list, right? I'm not sold that they're worth the points. And this is a 1/6 of your list. It's a lot to commit. And no long range, just so they're almost on ballistic skills, so just cover. Yeah, that's true. That's true. I think if you're doing that, you probably want to go with, you have the Battle Standard Bearer, right? The BSB is fine. It's just a shame that you can't give it the Shield Bearers, because this guy's going to get absolutely run over. I think, inarguably, you have to go for Master Rune of Grogny if you're going for like a character bunker. I think you just can't get away with not taking the ward save, realistically, if that's the sort of game plan you're going for. So I think change out the Hesitation. Obviously, Hesitation's really good, but if you can just tank them and then, you know, gun them down on the way in, I think that's way stronger. The the engineer. You've given a great weapon, handgun even. Rune of Passage is really good. I've seen more dwarf players do that recently, which is the move through cover. When you've got a 3-inch move, it's really important not to lose any infant. The dwarf players, the opinion on people liking Baby Yoda. It's funny because they're both short. Also, like, this Thane is going to add so much static combat res. It's really upsetting. Like, you can fire this into a dragon and sometimes chip off a couple of wounds. He's such a pain in the backside. Rune of Concussive Force. I'll be honest, I've forgotten which one this is. I don't think that's good. Oh god, you can't go... I'd be more tempted to drop the Concussive Force and the accuracy and just go for Rapid Fire, Bursting Flame, and then pay for... Oh no, it's an Engineer Sapper, so it can't be paid to upgrade. I think this is better if you just go for a second shooting unit. It's not as good, but it's still pretty solid. You're a Demon Convert. You're running the miners because you have 20 of the Skull Blast Lands. That's fair enough. That's fair enough. We can build within those restrictions. So this puts us 35 points over. So Burlock is very good. The banner we've changed to give you the ward save, which I think is solid. The Thane is just incredible. And also you've done the really smart thing of giving them the Rune of the Furnace. So you've got a 5-up ward, or a 3-up ward, I think it is, against flaming attacks. Yeah, because this Thane, the shooty Thane, sometimes drops out of units, and the only thing that really threatens him is Pillar of Fire. So you've just made Pillar of Fire not a problem at all. So that's a really good adaptation. Sapper, I've changed it over to a second Bursting Fire. You are Ballistic Skill 5, which means that you're at native going to be, assuming you stand still, which is maybe not going to happen, realistically you're going to move, aren't you? I think it's still worth just going for, like, pinging out a couple of shots. You know, 2 shots on 5, each hits are 2d3 auto hits. I think that's still solid. I think that's better than the risk of Stupidity, because Stupidity can just do nothing at all. And then you've got the Runesmith, who's got double shield spell breaking, which is solid. You want some sort of magic defense. So I like the characters here. Thunderers, we're not far over core. I'd be maybe tempted just to go something like this and go a little heavier into the Rangers. 14, maybe? And then I think as well, we probably drop one of these, or some points in the miners. In fact, let's go down to 18, 3 ranks of 6, and then let's just go back down to 10, and then back up to 20. So we're 7 points over if we do that, but we can shave those 7 points from core. How would we do that? You don't want to drop any of these things. I think these are all very good. The Copter's solid as well. I like that. I think this is solid. Is it worth having the Old Deadeye? Honestly, you could probably just lose Old Deadeye. Oh, that's only 7 points. It's not 6. Sorry, it's only 6, not 7. That's annoying. 7 points is such an annoying amount to lose. How are we doing that? Maybe... You know what? Feel free to tweak around with the points a little bit more, just in case you find that you've got a better way of doing it. But I'm just going to do that, and that's how we're going to shave points. But I think you can, like, if you're worried about having the shield on the Runesmith, you can make some other tweaks. So let's go Hassa flavor. Boom! There we go, dwarves. We are making good progress. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 out of 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. This is why I can't pick up any more, because there's 17 to do. So we're gonna have to go. Cool. Craks. Craks' vampire counts. Let's have a look at what Craks said here. It's been weird building lists where you have actual options that cost less than 40 points. Yeah, it really is, isn't it? Like, actually having tweaks that you can make is really nice. Can't do 2 bursting flame runes. Oh, bugger, yeah, you're absolutely right. Sorry, yeah. You're going to have to tweak that one. Where's the list that I'm looking for? I think it's higher than this. I just don't know if he said he had any restrictions on it. There we go. Craks, he had no restrictions on it. Okay, cool. So. This is vampire counts with no restrictions, so I'm just assuming that it's like a tanky go for. I mean, this is like... This is pretty bare bones, right? Your garage is cold, but I cannot justify streaking grime in the house. Gonna die. That's super fair. That is super fair. I've got a couple of bottles of Dirty Down Rust here that I have left over from a previous project. This thing, not a sponsor, an incredible product. I did it to do my orc army. So my orcs are very sort of like Mad Max, rusted vehicles. I need to sell them actually because I don't play 40k anymore. So if anyone's interested in buying a full orc army that's lots of like buggies, which I don't think are good at the moment, you know, hit me up. I'll have to dig them out. Anyway, back to the list. So we've got the Foot Necromancer, who's the general, which is Scepter of Dunero, Spell Familiar Necromancy. That's very standard. Got a BSB White Lord with the Helm of Commandment to make the Graveguard better. Double Tomb Banshee is fine. And then a single Vampire Count. This thing's so expensive. It's so expensive, but it does have triple save. 4 up, 5 up, 5 up. I think I'd like to fit in... Oh, we've only got 5 points available. I'd like to fit in Dark Acolyte so you can heal yourself, but I guess that's maybe out of the question. I mean, I'm not really sure what I could tweak here, realistically. This is pretty bare bones. I think I would personally be looking to add more units to this. I'd want a second Necromancer. The problem is, if you're putting the Dragon in, you're limiting yourself. Like, this could be downgraded to potentially an Abyssal Terror, which saves some points, but not enough points, realistically. I think I might be tempted just to lose the vampire count overall, which is a shame because it is the theme of the army, right? And go a second Necromancer, because you want to give both of these Tomb Banshees Steed of Shadows so they can just fly around, like Scream and Reserve move. I think that's really strong. The white is fine, the Graveguard are fine. The skeletons, there's a lot of them there. You could just go for some zombies instead, but, you know, it's what people go for. And then the Blood Knights, yeah, Blood Knights are solid. I like them. I like 8 Blood Knights. That's a size that you theoretically can't die to combat res, which is good. You know, if you get challenged out by a dragon, so you can just res them back up to full pretty easily. Yeah, I think this is fine. I personally don't love supernatural horror on them, but people do like it. It's not wrong, it's just personal playstyle. I'd rather charge and kill stuff instead of making things run away in terror. But it is a strong tool. It's just, yeah. Unfortunate that the Mortis Engine is just too good. I can never convince myself to bring an actual vampire. Yeah, 100%. That's the issue. Like, I quite like a level 4 and a level 2 on Mortis Engines. I saw someone talking about taking 2 level 2s on Mortis Engine and a level 4 on Foot, which is an interesting thought. It's not something that I've done, but definitely an angle you could go with. So again, Craks, I haven't actually changed anything in the list, so I'm not going to copy and paste that one here, but hopefully I've talked through some changes that could be helpful if you wanted to go for it. Then we've got, have we got anyone else here? Skulls. I know Skulls had submitted a list, so let's go with Skulls next. So Skulls was talking about taking their list to an RTT this weekend, if I remember correctly. Let's have a look at what we were saying. Further up. Further up. Yeah, one-day event tomorrow. I'm going to the Squarebase Toronto GT. They're running the Squarebase changes to Renegade Faction, so you should see more of them. Cool. Okay, so let's have a look at this. So you've gone for the Ogre Blade on Steed, Enchanting Aura. Then you've got Infernal Puppet on Steed, level 4. You've gone for Aspiring Champion on Chariot. So this is the tanky Chariot, right? Mark and Nurgle, Favor of the God, Talisman of the Hurricane. Yeah. I really like this unit. I think more people, if you're playing couriers, so if you're playing Orcs and Goblins, if you can fit this tanky BSB in, it's really strong. Chaos Lord, I'd be tempted to go Yeah, so this is going with the Chaos Knights, right? You don't have countercharge to lose. I'd be very tempted to just go Demonic Mount because it gives you +1 wound and it gives you some like better output as well. I think I like that more. It's also still Monstrous Cav, so you've got a 360 charge. Your movement 8, so if you detach from the unit, you're a little bit faster. You do lose the +1 save, but I think given that you've got the inbuilt ward save, I'm not super worried about that. Like, you just want to Enchanting Aura or something and then slap them real hard, right? So I'd be tempted to go Demonic Mount, unless you've got, like, a compelling reason not to, such as not having the model for it. That might be a compelling reason not to. Sorcerer Lord here is super fine. Spell Familiar, Infernal Puppet, Battle Magic. I like that. Marcus Inch, hard to argue with. 7 Horsemen. Personal preference, I wouldn't be paying for flails for them. If you're using them as a bunker for the Zinch caster, I just go Cav Spears. Chaos Lord isn't sacred. I'm just looking for a final way to support the chariot. That's fair. Yeah. I think this is just like a flat upgrade in my eyes, and you have the points and characters to do it, so that's probably what I'd recommend. You were pretty much exactly at 500 points here. Okay. I'd like this unit of Forsaken to be bigger. Do you have the models to make the Forsaken bigger? Because I think 5 is just... Yeah, Flail sees the last bit of points. Yeah, that is fair. I'd quite like to see the Forsaken go up to, like, that. But it's hard, because what are we going to do? We might be overcapped, honestly, if we do this. So if we just go back to what you have... Yeah, so you're at 1999. The cap isn't the characters. The cap is... You've gone for 3 Dragon Ogres and 2 Gigantic Spawn. Okay, so let's go up to 7 here. And then drop these to 5. I didn't click them up. There we go. So we're now over on points. Honestly, I don't think the Icon of Darkness is particularly useful. Unless you're expecting to run exclusively into like Empire lists or Dwarves. I think you could pretty happily lose the Icon of Darkness there. Mark and Nurgle. I genuinely drop the Mark and Nurgle on these guys. It's not bad to have, but what I find is that I'm more likely to lose Chaos Knights to Panic than I am to anything else. So if you're not going for the output on the Mark of Khorne, I think I like Mark of Undivided more, especially with how cheap it is. Yeah, Spawn you want to keep for sure, 100% agree. Double Spawn and the Dragon Ogres, I think these are really good points spent. I've gone off the Spawn a little bit just because I'm such a big Warpfire Dragon fan, but this is like super solid. There's a lot of Dwarves and Skaven shooting, surprisingly. Alright, fair enough. Well, in that case, I think you've kind of just made a list that makes sense for you then, right? I can't argue with this realistically. Like, you could tweak around with the core a little bit, but I don't necessarily see a point. In terms of changes that I'd like to see, I'd like to see the Lord on a Demonic Mount, just to make him a little bit more survivable, because he starts off with 4 wounds anyway. So if you can get him to that 5th wound, it just means that he's almost never falling over in 1 round of combat. It gives you 2 bites of the cherry to try and Ogre Blade their dragon down, which is not a fight that people necessarily want to take. It's a little bit risky. Lord of Mount Sweet. Yeah, it's just a little bit tankier. I mean, you do lose the armor save, but the things that are going to kill you, you don't really care about the armor save anyway, I think. The Wizard is fine. I wouldn't mind trying to fit Ruby Ring in, but again, we're kind of capping ourselves on points. The Aspiring Champion is fantastic. Big fan of that. Chaos Knights, you said you wanted to go for the Icon. I think that makes sense. Marauder Horsemen, they're fine. The Forsaken are a bit small, but I don't know how you make them bigger without, like, being really inefficient with your core, because you're like super capped on points anyway here, and this is all fine. So I don't think I'd actually make any changes. I think this is solid. It makes a lot of sense. The other alternative is you could go for like 2 Shartax and then make some slightly more like efficient Forsaken, but I don't know that that's better. I think I like the unit of Dragon Ogres more as it stands. So yeah, again, I'm not going to link this one because I haven't actually made any changes, but hopefully there's some thoughts in there that you can work with if there's anything that you... Yeah, Ed, I've just made like tweaks to play around with it. I'm not actually going to link it. I've just taken points out of something. I can't remember what it was, honestly. Oh, I changed these from Nurgle to Undivided. I probably would actually make these Undivided instead of Nurgle. At which point, can you put like 1 more Forsaken in? No. You'd have to play around with the core to get it there, but... something like that is maybe the way to go. But I think the list that you linked is absolutely reasonable, and it doesn't need changes making. Yeah, no, I like a Lord. Even a Lord on horse is not bad, because it gets you to that 2-up save with the barding. I just personally prefer the 5th wound and the extra output from the extra attacks. So this guy could be an absolute terror, and you can run him kind of semi-separately as well. You don't have to have him in a unit, depending on what you're playing against. Now that Ed's put his hat in the ring, let's have a look at your Warriors of Chaos. So I know you were saying you were playing with Throne of Skulls restrictions, which was you were capped at 500 points on your characters, which makes sense. So you've gone Flail, Shield, Mark and Nurgle, Dragon, and a single favourite for the gods. I played without Mark and Nurgle, honestly. Don't get me wrong, it's good, but I'm wondering, is it better to go for another 2 favours of the gods? I think I could go either way on that. That's kind of down to personal preference. I like an excuse to use the Vanguard as characters. That's fair. That's very fair. Sorcerer Lord. So this is a really solid loadout. You've gone for the level 4 Zinch Chariot. The Chariot comes undivided stock, which means you get to reroll your Fear, Panic, and Terror, which is really nice. That's something that's good to have. I don't know that I care enough to go Demon Flesh here. Like, I know you've got the points to do it, but not being wounded on 2s is kind of... It kind of feels extraneous for something that doesn't want to be in combat, in my opinion. So I'm going to take that off and we'll maybe come back to it. We've gone for Spell Familiar, Favour of the Gods, Ruby Ring and Ruin, Infernal Puppet on a Battle Magic caster. So you get 5 spells, you mark a Zinch, you're going to be a blaster. So you don't want to end up in combat anyway. You've got the double save to deal with being sniped by cannonballs, and you've got 7 wounds, I think. Yeah, 7 wounds. So I think you're totally fine. I don't think you necessarily need the can't be wounded on 2s. You feel like you might be cannoned, potentially, but like, how many cannons does it take to kill him? I would say. If you've not got anything else to spend it on, I could see it going back in, but we'll take it out for now and see if we need to come back. Mark and Nurgle is great for stopping the attacks that can barely hurt you from hitting. It makes a difference in the dragon versus dragon fights, but I just try not to get into those. Unless I'm running an Ogre Blade or something, which you can't do at 500 points. Here, in core, I'm glad you're here. I hate your core, respectfully. I think Undivided with Brazen Collar doesn't make any sense, personally. I think if you're going for the Chaos Knights, if you're going for 4s, you could literally just go like this and save yourself, how many points is it? 26 points per. So that's 78 points across the 3 units. That's an extra, like, you could just go up to basically units of 5. I think that's better. To avoid panics and to avoid magic. Like, 4s are fine. I just don't think I want to spend, like, I don't want to invest 78 points into making 3 units magic resist 2. That doesn't feel like worth it to me. If you wanted to go full cav, and I know you've built this list up already, and you've got limited time to paint, because it's for this weekend, isn't it, I think? Or something like that. I would probably just increase the model count on these personally. Or, like... So if we take off all of these, where does that leave us in terms of points? 47 points under. You could just make them Khorne, honestly. Like, I'm not a big proponent of Khorne, but if you just want to add some violence to a list that already has a dragon running at people, and that kind of gives you some shielding from the Sorcerer Lord, you could just make them mark a Khorne. Submitted for the weekend, just looking at what to change for after. So... Let's just briefly talk about it then. So I've got a game that I might put up as a battle report where I played against Jack Ward. Jack's a solid player. He's in the Team England Discord. He finished, I think, top 5 last year in the UK on Old World rankings. He's a solid player. And he has come to a point where, when he's playing Chaos, he's playing a Chaos Lord and Dragon. He's playing a Sorcerer Lord on Chariot, same as you. He's got a Warp 5 Dragon because it's really, really solid. You said you weren't sure if you make it a Wizard. I don't think you do. I think you just leave it as it is. And then he's gone for just Avoidance in core, so he's gone for a lot of Marauders. He did have 1 unit of Khorne Chaos Knights, a 4, which I just killed for free on his turn 1, so that ended up not being worthwhile having. They're there to provide a champion for challenges and first charge alongside the dragon. That is true. That is true. That is very valid. Yeah, that is a use for them. I mean, I don't know. I think it's just that you're putting a brazen collar on all of them. That doesn't feel like a good use of points. So maybe we meet in the middle and we say, okay, let's go with the champions, but let's lose the brazen collars because that's 60 points across them. So if we take the brazen collar off, that gives us 29 points, which is effectively +1 model. I don't know that I like +1 model as the answer, but what it does do is it frees you up some points here, right? Between losing the anti-cannonball and here, you can go for another Shah attack if you wanted. That's an option, so you could go for... you'd have to lose the blackened plate, obviously. Which means... Oh, that overcaps you on the second one. That's annoying, you're 3 points over. Because these... Oh, yeah. Also, you put uncanny sensors on. I'm assuming that was just to fill out points. I don't know that I find uncanny sensors to be particularly useful. But you could go for, like, 2 Shah attacks here, potentially, and that gives you 2 more sources of, like, you can get in and you can challenge with them. And then you've still got 18 points. I'm not really sure where I'd spend 18 points in a Chaos list, honestly. That was just to use 10 points of the spare. That's fair enough. Like, I'm not going to quibble about that. I mean, that's not worthwhile. Is there anything that's super worthwhile putting on? I mean, no, is the problem. It's difficult to consider what you could put in. Is there anything for 15 points that's worth putting on? Again, I don't think there is. Skin of Man? Nope. That would be great if you could. Giving it Scout and Vanguard would be really nice. But there's 2 reasons you can't do it, so... yeah, like, honestly, I don't love the Chaos Knights as the core option. I don't feel like they do much other than provide a challenge and first charge, but that is useful. So maybe what I would do is drop this one, go for 2 of them, and then go for, like, a bigger unit of Forsaken, maybe? Forsaken by Slanesh. And then... God damn it. You go something like this. 2 units with Vanguard, 1 unit without. Something like this. This just gives you a unit that's a little bit beefier, that hits a little bit harder. It's still relatively fast with the Swift Stride on there. So something like that is maybe how I'd tweak it. And this isn't necessarily set in stone. I think if I was going to be playing this list personally, I would go for an Avoidance core. I wouldn't be going for like an aggressive core. But again, it's Chaos. You can kind of do a lot of stuff with them, right? I don't think you're wrong for building it the way you are, and there's a lot of like personal play style that goes into how you want to play things. So yeah, I think the list is fine, and I think you'll have a good time playing it. I know you've been avoiding playing Dragons all edition, so looking forward to seeing how you get on this weekend. Where's the event, by the way? Right. While we're waiting for an answer there, I guess, who else is here that I haven't got to? I don't know that I saw anyone else's name. I feel like all of the people who've said that they were here, we've got to. Is there anyone else who's here? Exporter Champion Chris, of course you are, sorry. That's, for some reason, I struggle to tie your name to your username. Let's look at yours. So, hell yeah, back-to-back Grand Army. You had... Oh, I forgot when I was tabbing, you could see my my channel back end. So let me just move that one onto a different screen. Don't want to have that on there. Fortunately, it didn't go into any of the analytics, but that's okay. Sweet. So let's go back to your list. Exporter Champion. Yours was about 2/3 of the way up, right? If I remember correctly. Did you put any context? Yes, you did. I thought you did. So we're looking at a Tzeentch or Undivided list. Model availability. The only available models that you have are a couple of demonic mounts, a chariot, 20 warriors with shield, 1 more dragon ogre, more hounds. Okie dokie. Let's have a look at this list then. There we go. Cool. So you've gone for a demon prince. So you haven't got a dragon, which is the risky click. Yeah, I know, right? MSU Forsaken gets in the way. Yeah, no, I agree. I like slightly bigger units, but that's a personal preference. So, Demon Prince. This is... You've gone for Meteoric Iron, Tome of the Dark God, Spell Familiar, Biting Blade. Did you go Dark Magic? Is that what I've missed here? Oh, no. You'd gone for Tome of the Dark God, so you can have the Mark of Nurgle spell and the Tzeentch spell. Okay, that's pretty reasonable. I don't hate that, because you have gone for Battle Magic. Biting Blade, and you've got the 5-up ward, the 5-up armor, the 4-up ward, and the 5-up regen. You can change into multiple different favoured spells, lore spells, Spell Familiar for a 5th spell, Blighting Blade, 2 Favours of the Gods. Yeah, this is a good setup. This is like a very flexible Demon Prince. It slaps in melee, it can do a lot of damage at range. The Sorcerer Lord, you went level 4 on a steed, Battle Magic, Infernal Puppet. I like this as well. This is like, at this point we kind of know what's good for Chaos characters, right? This all makes sense to me. And then you went a single Dragon Ogre with a Shout Out with a Potion of Speed. I'm just going to cut that one for now because I don't think it's necessarily particularly useful. You've got 4 Dragon Ogres, then you've got the Warpfire Dragon. Warpfire Dragon, incredible, really fits the Tzeentch theming as well. It's a magical dragon. Sadly, no dragon yet. Well, you know, there is always options. You're not based in Nottingham, are you? I know I met you in Nottingham, but that was because you were here for an event. Anyway, yeah, so in terms of tweaking here, so we're a little bit under... You're in Chester, yes, that's right, I remember now. Yeah, so the Warpfire Dragon's fantastic. I really like the unit 4. I like the unit 1, but if we're going for a Shartak, let's give him the Blackened Plate. Just getting up to that 2-up save makes him really hard to deal with. This list doesn't have Lookout Sir for the Demon Prince. Oh, that's funny. I hadn't thought about that. I don't know that that's the biggest problem in the world. Sometimes it's going to suck. But you've got a 4-up ward and a 5-up regen, so you can kind of just, like, risk tanking the cannonballs on the chin. Where it's going to really suck is if they fire loads of, like, short, like, you know, dwarves with loads of strength 5, decent AP shooting. That's where this is going to suck. Oh, no, the AP doesn't matter. Anyway, dwarf shooting will make you sad. But I think you can get away with it, because you can just avoid, like, stand behind things, right? But yeah, that's a very good point. It doesn't have any Lookout Sir. This is fine. I don't love a big unit of Tzeentch Knights, but it's a bunker for the Sorcerer Lord, or this is the bunker depending on the match, I guess. I think this is solid. We do need to shave 13 points, which is a problem, because I don't know how we're going to do that. We're 5 points over, so let's just drop Vanguard from the Warhounds to start off with. We're still 10 points over. Oh, hate that for us. I don't think there's an easy way to do that. The alternative would be to drop the Mark of Undivided, go Mark of Tzeentch, lose out on the Nurgle +1 toughness spell, which is not too bad to do, honestly. And that means you could drop the Tome of the Dark Gods, which means you're still coming in under budget after giving this the 2-up save, and that's kind of a preference thing. You could go either way on it. I'm a big Demon Prince fan, so I won't discourage anyone from taking one. Yeah, no, it's a fair point. It's good to point out. This can go back to having Vanguard, and then you've still got 12 points. You've got musicians on everything. You have good stuff. I think something like this I like more, and then I'd be maybe tempted just to go for a 3rd Favour of the Gods here. 3 feels like the magic number, honestly. And then maybe just go for 1 on the Sorcerer Lord, because sometimes you're just like, you know what, I'm going to end up in melee, let's just roll. So, I've made some tweaks to your list, but honestly, kind of where you were was fine already. This is just the version that I would take. This doesn't need tweaks for your theme, but this is, you know, how I'd tweak it up. I think this is a little inefficient. I am worried that this is a lot of points that can die relatively quickly, and they can also panic off the board, which is a real concern. No worries, Chris. But I think if you're playing in the theme, it's not too bad. Honestly, if you're not going to put the wizard in them, maybe just go Mark of Undivided. I know it seems counterproductive, but not losing them to panic is pretty huge. And then you'd have to tweak the points here. But again, that's preference. I'm going to leave it in. You play around with it. If you find that they start running away a lot, just remember that you can tweak it so that they don't have to be siege. Make them undivided, and that'll save your ass a little bit. This message is brought to you by Chaos Knight Death Star has run off the board gang. God, that sucked. Okay. So we're down to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, I think. And then O did say something as well. Hold on. Let's see if I can... Because I didn't really understand what he was saying, but I was super rushed to get ready for stream, so I didn't actually... Maybe I have to undo stream mode again. From user O. Okay, so I think I can syntax this better. In hashtag fix my list. There we go. My list is more of a discussion point as to which type of list would be best to run the idea, Null or Grand Army. I know it's not really an interesting premise for Empire, which type of list to run. Okay. Did O post previously? I feel like they did, but it's not coming up in the search. Has the wound from the Death Star running off healed enough that I can point out I did warn you the night you submitted that list? Fuck you. Brazen Collar and Undivided is actually a pretty decent shout. And this might sound like I'm flip-flopping on my opinions after I told Ed not to run Brazen Collar, but this is a unit of 10, which is like, it's a lot less commitment, right, to do that. So I'm a lot more on board with it. When was this from? I feel like I'm kind of just scrolling aimlessly. This wasn't the right day. Yeah, this was 2 weeks ago. So let's have a look at O's list. Or O's request. Ah, here we go, here we go. Looking to make this list into a GT list with regular restrictions. I've been thinking of making it into a Null army, but then I lose the wizard gaining the Outriders and the HBGV. See second list for reference. It's been a real puzzle making the Empire work list. Okay. Thanks, search function, for not showing me that. So we've gone for General Hans von Lohenhack, which is strong if you're going for a shooting list, but can be left on the table. So this is Grand Army, the first one. Pegasus, level 4, Armor of Tarnus Illusion. I think that makes a lot of sense. That's the ward save that wizards can take that also gives you heavy armor, I believe. It might be light armor. Engineer, White Cloak, War Wagon is good. Talisman Protection Engineer, this is solid. On Foot, War Banner as well. Okay, and then you've got the Veteran Straight. I don't think this is good. Like, if we're talking about purely trying to make the most competitive list, I don't think this makes it in at all. And then you've got some State Missile Troops. I think Triple Great Cannon, Hellblaster Volley Gun. I'd rather go with a second Hellblaster Volley Gun. Like, find the points for that. Then the second list, we've gone for the General as well, so you're really big on getting that +1, which is fine if you're going for a shooting list. Double Engineer again, the Captain with the War Banner on foot. That is good. Then we've got the Captain with the Squint Offers and some Marvellous Magnifier. Oh, thank you, Chris. Really appreciate that. That's very generous of you. Anthony got the membership. Hell yeah. It's always nice when the gifted subs go to the people who are here in week in, week out. So we've got those there. Then we've got you can't see my messages, can you? No, good. I'm not a believer of this unit. If you want to build around it, that's absolutely fine, but it is, I think, limiting. I think if you wanted to write a list, so here we've got the double Hellblaster, we've got the cannons. I like this more. You are losing the wizards. I was talking about this earlier today, actually, in one of the chats I'm in. If you want to go for the City State and Null, you can do this sort of list. I think, honestly, maybe you lose the engineers. They're good, don't get me wrong. But if you're going Null, you lose the engineers, you put them on foot, and you go for 2 bigger units of Outriders. And you, like, I think the big thing that you get is repeater handguns with low to no penalties, depending on how you use them. And I think that's the big draw of Nuln. So if you wanted to go Nuln, you bring the triple cannon, you bring the double hell, the volley gun, you bring 2 units of 8 outriders, you go double Squintoffen's magnifier, not Squint, is it Squintoffen's? Yeah, the magnifier, Squintoffen's magnifier. You go double magnifier, and you probably also go for like the dragon bow on a captain as well. It's just a really efficient shooting piece. And you use the points here to sort of thin that out. You probably want to put Ruby Ring in as well, and you just go for like the overwhelm approach. I think that's probably more how I would do things. So yeah, I think if I was going Grand Army, that's how I'd make the tweaks. But I think if I'm talking about whether the Gunline list is better for Grand Army or not, I think Grand Army is better than Nuln. I would find the points for the other Hellblaster. I'd make tweaks in core. But having the wizard, honestly, I'd be tempted to cut maybe one of the engineers here. Like, having one is still quite nice. I'd be tempted to cut one of the engineers, maybe just be a foot engineer, go for a second wizard lord, and have like a blaster battle magic wizard lord who's gone Ruby Ring of Ruin and the Lore Familiar, and you just go, here's 2 fireballs, here's a pillar of fire, and I'm going to try and thin you out there and have it like a pseudo extra war machine. I think that's probably how I would do that. Great Southern Vineyards, good morning, lads. Good morning to you. It feels like it's going to be morning soon. You missed it, but I'm travelling to a practice day tomorrow, which is going to be a lot of fun, but I've got to get up at 5 in the morning. And I haven't finished building and packing, so I've got to do that as soon as we turn off the stream. But yeah, hopefully that's helpful, in terms of my thoughts about the discussion. If not, feel free to like comment in the Empire chat and ping me as well. If you had other questions that you don't think I answered, feel free to, ask them, because obviously I've not done a full list build because I wasn't quite sure what you were referring to when I was putting things through there. All right, so then we've got Ian's list. So Ian said, I want you to talk about the list that I'm using tomorrow. Ian is one of the people that we're scrimming against, because Pash has put together a local crew / maybe some Scottish people, I think, for Team England to play into tomorrow. So that's going to be fun. And Reva, or Ian, has brought this list. So I think there's some interesting stuff in here. I think the High Beastmaster is genuinely interesting. I think the Death Hag is... I don't like it. I understand why people use it. I'm not going to say it's bad. It's just a playstyle that I don't enjoy. But I think you need to commit more to the bit. So here, Supreme Sorceress on Dragon. We were keeping to a Throne of Skulls 500 points cap. So that's why that's there. I think this is fine, but I don't like that it's only 4 spells dry rolling. That makes me really uncomfortable. Even with a Focus Familiar. So that... I don't love that. I'm not sure I'd be taking the Wizard Dragon. I'd probably just take the normal dragon, drop the Death Hag, and then take a Wizard on foot. And then you could have the High Beastmaster. You could have a Lord? I've forgotten the name for it. You could have the Dreadlord on Dragon, the High Beastmaster on Manticore, a Supreme Sorceress on Steed. And that would probably be a better character loadout. But, it is what it is. Into core... I don't think I love the repeater crossbowmen in this quantity. You've gone for Razor Standard, but I don't think there's enough of them there to benefit from the Razor Standard. So, your repeater crossbow, you've got 2 shots. Your ballistic skill 4, so you're hitting on 4s natively, assuming the multi-shot penalty. So, best case scenario, you're shooting out 30 shots, which means if you're hitting on 4s, you're getting 15 hits, which means you're getting 2.5 armor banes. I don't think that's enough to pay a 40-point magic banner on. I gave that Death Hag so many chances to pop up, and it just manages to always do less than die. Yeah. Also, I think 10 Witch Elves is too few. I think you need way more. And I think Dark Riders I'd like to see bump up. So I think I'd probably be doing something like lose this. Let's go down to just 10, because I'm assuming there's a limitation here. The Witch Elves we probably want to bump up, because you need to have, quantity of wounds, right? The Dark Riders as well. Let's just bump those up to 8, something like this. I feel like Ian doesn't have this many Dark Riders, but I could be wrong with that. If I've overshot the mark there, apologies, Ian. Something like this. The Sorceress is just going to be on a Dark Steed. We're going to go Battle Magic. We're going to drop the Talisman. We're going to go for a Tome of Fury, and a second Focus Familiar, and a Ruby Ring of Ruin. And then you haven't put a dragon in, but that's... I think it completely reworks the list. I probably don't copy and paste this one, so hopefully you watch this back and talk it through. Because if we're dropping the Death Hag, we also drop the Witch Elves, which means we have to completely rebuild the core. So we're kind of just completely redoing the list to more of what I would bring, which isn't really particularly useful to you. 14 in Witch Elves. Yeah, I think you need just a few more wounds here. Also your list is slightly illegal. I did notice that when I was putting this in, because you've gone for a War Hydra, Charybdis, and 5 Doomfire Warlocks, and that puts you at 511 points. So that's a slight problem. I don't think anyone's going to complain, honestly, because I'm not sold on either of these models being good. But yeah, I think there's quite a bit that I would change in it. I'm not a believer in the expensive unit of repeater crossbows, and if you're committing to the Witch Elves, I think you go for slightly more of them, is what I'd say there. But yeah, it'll be interesting to play against you, maybe, and see how the list does. Maybe I'm wrong. I'd be very pleased to be wrong. It would be nice to see some more good choices in Dark Elves, because I feel like they're pretty one-note and linear, and the list that I've been playing kind of feels like the one version that I'm comfortable playing. So hopefully I'm wrong and you do really well and you kick our teeth in tomorrow. That'd be awesome. But I might talk to you in person before you see this, so that'd be interesting. We've got Pip's list next. Pip has Demon Pinball Wizard. So let me just put this back into streaming mode. I'd love this list to be good. Yeah, me too, bud. Me too. I don't think it is, but me too. I like the Renegade FAQ that makes Corsairs skirmishes. Oh, they've tweaked it again, have they? I haven't looked at the updated version. Val asked me to have a look, and I've just been so busy that I haven't really had time to go through. But I did say I would, so I do need to do what I said I would do. Alright. So Pip's list. The idea is to drop units to toughness 0 with Plague Wind so they instantly die. Fuck. Okay, so there's a combination that Pip's going for here. Oh, these need to be in rare, not special. It doesn't matter. Why is Pip asking for advice? You should be asking for his. I don't know. Who won at the event that we were both recently at? Oh, spoiler, he came in third. Let's have a look here. So, the list is built around Lore of Demons. Here we go. So, Plague Wind is the Nurgle spell that you're taking on your 3 Nurgle casters. It's a 3-inch blast template. It's dangerous terrain. It moves d6 in a random direction. Any unit that it hits suffers -1 to toughness for the remainder of the turn. This is fine, and this is not capped at 0. So then you combo this with Gift of Mutation, which is the 2 Tzeentch units, and they can hex you on an 8 or 12, and it reduces your strength, toughness, or weapon skill. If you cast it on the higher value, you get 2. So they're level 3, they're Tzeentch, so they're casting at +4. So getting the +8, like the 8, is not hard at all. And you minus D3 from the toughness. Plague Winds is too easy to just dispel, but the magical Christmas land is beautiful. So here's the thing. It's start of turn, so it gets to move before your opponent gets to dispel it. So there is a risk that it works. It's not a good list, let's be clear. This is a meme list, but I think he's done a good job with what he's written. I think I'd be tempted to buff these up a little bit more, because... Right, so let's go through the list. You've got the Demon Prince level 4 General Marker Nurgle. You've got that twice. Both of them have Fly. This one has Aether Blade, so you don't get armor saves against it in melee. They're both dark magic, so you can go for Word of Pain, as mentioned here. And it also, unintentionally, Battle Lust is really good on Furies. Gets them to, slap a little bit harder. Then we've got the second Demon Prince, which is the same, just naked, heavy armor fly, and source of the weapon, dark magic, yada yada. Then there's a Herald, which is a level 2 winged horror. I think this is ridiculous. It gives Fly Nate and Swift Stride, but it is a way to get a 3rd template in. So that's fine. Then we've got the Furies here, which is okay. I think I'd buff these up, but honestly, it's more a talking point than the list. The Flamers, He's gone for the Power Vortex, which is quite a nice power to have, which gives you -1 to casting rolls. I think you're kind of missing a trick if you're not making the second one have 2 heads, so you've got a better chance of getting, or twin heads, getting that extra spell means that you're more likely to get the spells that you want to get. You know, you may as well just really go deep into the lore and get as much as possible. So then we just need to shave off some points. Like, Nurglings are fine. They're not awful, but let's just get rid of them and just go more Furies, I think, is what I would tweak. I want to point out that this list upsets me, personally. I feel like I've been personally selected to be annoyed by it. We've got something like this, and that's we're still over on points. Is there any... The problem is with demons, you just can't make tweaks, can you? So we're just going to go something like this. 500 points of Fury is the perfect core. Unironically, yeah. Something like this. I'm just going to copy and paste this. Ooh, that's not what I was trying to do. So I haven't necessarily made any super worthwhile tweaks, but hopefully the talking about it has been interesting, at least for everyone watching. I don't think Pip actually needs me to genuinely critique the list. It's a meme list. You're relying on a random moving vortex hitting the unit. You've got multiple ways to strip someone's toughness down. You can get them down from T5, I think. You can kill something that's T5, so you can't even kill dragons, which is, you know, fine. It is what it is. But yeah, that was the Pinball Wizard list from Pip. So thank you for submitting that one, buddy. Next up, we've got the Beltane Bros Evasive Wood Elves. Wood Elves. I'm assuming this isn't playing with level 4... Sorry, with Ruler 3 restrictions, because there are 4 units of Deepwood Scouts. But I like the list in general. I think it's solid. I would make some tweaks. So the Deepwood Sphere is interesting. I do not think you should take it. So the way that Deepwood Sphere works is you can dispel when an enemy wizard within 6 inches of a woodland feature successfully casts. It's not a dispel attempt. It auto goes off, and then they take D3 strength 4 hits at AP1. Why is the wizard ever going to be near a wood? Realistically. So let's just get rid of that, because if your opponent has a brain, they're just never going to miscast near a wood. What I think we can do, though, is we can go Lore Familiar Power Scroll. I think that's just a solid way to have this wizard do something. You can pick 2 elementalism spells that actually matter. Then we've got the level 4 Ruby Ring, Ruin Oaken Stave. That's good. Tree Man with the elementalism, only a level 2. That kind of sucks. I'd like this to be a level 4, but I guess it's kind of hard to buff up. I actually don't love the Tree Man Ancient at all. You assumed your opponent wouldn't have a brain. That is bad list writing. I can't co-sign that. You've got to assume that they're going to do the right things. Unless you really love it. If you think it's really funny and you want to play it for that idea, go for it. I'm going to give you advice to not take it, but if you want to take it because memes, don't let your memes be dreams, you go wild. So we've got the Tree Man Ancient. I kind of hate the Tree Man Ancient. Like, they've got less attacks. They just make me feel sad. I'm almost more tempted to go double normal Tree Man, honestly. The only way the Sphere realistically works is a gotcha, yeah, kind of. I wonder if we went double Tree Man, is that better? Because stat-wise, you get +1 attack. I don't think you lose anything. You get +1 weapon skill, you get +2 attacks, that's it, yeah. You lose a wound. I think genuinely this is better, and it saves you 45 points here. Your Glade Guard, you've gone for Swift Shiver Shards. I don't think there's any target that's better into, given that you probably will have to move them because it's the small unit. So I think you just go Arcane Bodkins on everyone. Not Arcane Bodkins, Hagbane Tips, realistically. I also think you probably buff up the Glade Riders a little bit as well. If you're going Evasion, you don't want them to fall over immediately. I like 8, but 6 is super fine. And I think, yeah, like, just a couple of small tweaks. You've got basically the same list, but I think this is a little bit more effective. You have got a lot of poison shooting. 8, 16, 24, 32, 44, 49 shots with the Hagbane Tips, which is not awful. Double Treeman as a bit of, like, a roadblock. I don't think they're incredible, but also I think you're really struggling for things to spend points as Wood Elves, so I don't think it's bad. Glade Lord, I like any version of this Glade Lord. This is only -1 to hit. In fact, we've got points, so we could probably just go an Annoyance and Netlings, so that you're like properly -1 to hit and you're -1 weapon skill and initiative. At which point we need to shave 12 points off. So let's just go. Honestly, I think we lose a Deepwood Scout here. I think an 8, a 7, and then 2 6s on the Glade Riders is I'm more comfortable with. But you know, feel free to play around with the individual numbers. Calm's going for a cup of tea. Do you need to top up? I actually do. As you can see here, my tea is pretty much empty. So I could really do with a top up there. But yeah, I think something like this is fine. The way that I'd be more tempted to put the level 4... to put the tree in is if I was to take it as a level 4, if I'm taking the Ancient. And then you're just like rolling on Elementalism and you're treating it as another actual casting threat. This was Belting Balls. I will say I'm basically just waiting for the Arcane Journal to come out because I feel so positive that there's got to be something good coming for Wood Elves. Please, please. Did an overnight shift and haven't slept. Think the mania's setting in. Why aren't you coming down to play the practice event this weekend? Anyway, what's up with that? What's your excuse? Okay, my neck is absolutely killing me. There we go. That's a bit better. Cool. So, we've got Tomek SC's Mort Cult list. So, no worries, Brent. Wanted to bring a couple of tree men, get some reps in before the Arcane Journal. I think the list that you've got then is pretty much suited for that. I think if, you know, the best list that you can write on a scale of 1 to 10 for Wood Elves right now is like a 6, I think your list is probably a 5. I don't think there's a lot that you could tweak to make it better. I think it's solid. Now that a lot of the sort of direct power is taken out of the list from Pillar of Fire is being nerfed, I think maybe Dragon is necessary just to like farm points. But I still don't like the actual Wood Elf Dragon, so I really do like the Stag. I think it's a really solid piece. Cool. Onto the Mortuary Cult. So we've got double High Priest here. We've got a big unit of archers, 2 Tomb Swarms, 6 of Shabti with I think that's meant to be bows. I just haven't marked it on correctly. Double Tomb Scorpion, triple Catapult, and the Casket of Souls. Can you go triple Catapult? Is it 0 per 2 per 1,000 points? I think it is. I think that's right. I knew nothing about it, or I did, and I couldn't go because I'm working tomorrow. That's a good excuse. I respect that. So, let's have a look. There are some tweaks I want to make. The first tweak I want to make, 2 Tomb Swarms feels too low to me. I feel like 4 is a really solid amount. Obviously, you're kind of capped on points, so maybe we just call it 3, but you want to be able to leave them alive so that you can cast and then res. Also, you really want a Mortuary Priest BSB. Like, the BSB is so strong for Undead. I know we talked about it earlier in the stream. 100% you want to put a BSB in there. I would probably also put the Amulet of the Serpent on this model, just because you probably just want it to sit in the unit, and that seems good enough. And I'm not really bothered about anything else, so let's drop the Amulet of the Serpent off this one here. And then we've got here, you've given this High Priest double ward save, which I feel is probably not deliberate, because you've gone for Warding Splint here, which is heavy armor and a ward save, and then you've given it Talisman of Protection as well. Hey, Ed. Good evening, fellow High Elf enthusiasts. I haven't done your list yet, but I can do it next, Ed. That's good timing. That's fair. That's fair. All right, cool. So, I think 3 catapults might be too much, and that's probably where we gain some points to make the characters better with. So here we've got the Great Bow unit. I think that's really good. I really like it. This level 1 Mortuary Priest is probably taking the Jeff's Cursed Blades. This is usually where you get your roll there. The Tomb Scorpions are solid. I like having Mortuary Cult Terrors below them if I can afford it, because it gives you a tool in the Undead matchup. Like, you can absolutely murder Banshees with them. That is a really solid way to do things. Double Casket I think is solid. I'm kind of I and ah as to whether I like the casket version more than I like the other version. But this is solid. Like, obviously, it's a really strong defensive buff. And what are we missing here? This is annoying me up at the top. It says you need 3 non-character units. You definitely have them. I don't know why it's come out with that error. High Priest. So the Earthing Rod is a really good item to have here. Warding Splint is fine. Rebrewing Ruin. Honestly, probably go for a couple of unit of skirmishes. Probably 6 with Warbows. Or 1 unit, because you've got something to put your non-attached character in. There we go. That's what I was going with. So this character here, the Elementalism one, I know you lose out on your signature spells on this model. I think you 100% have to take the Lore Familiar on this model. Maybe that was the intention, because you've got Talisman while also having a ward save. But I think you need to have the Lore Familiar here. Which means you have to lose the Earthing Rod on this model, which means that this one here can be the General, and you put the Earthing Rod on it there, and that just works out nicely. So the reason you need Lore Familiar is if you're on the Elementalism caster, it's vitally important that you get Plague of Rust, that you get Earthen Ramparts, you get TMP, and then Wind Blast is just nice to have as well. But if you're taking Elementalism caster to support the Skeleton Archers, you cannot afford for not getting TMP 1 in 3 games. You haven't asked a single question about soup, so back off. You're late to the party. We've already done our soup for the day. I think this is probably all the tweaks I'd make. I think that's solid. I think you gain a lot for losing 1 catapult, and you've got a lot more value in here. So let's just export that one. I don't think there's necessarily anything else that needs to be tweaked there. And whose list was this? Sorry, it was Tomek. That's Tomek. Friday is more or less a sensible affair. Very good. Very good. I like how you're saying someone else is starting beef. Nah, never mind. Never mind. You actually just got back from having made some soup. My mum made dinner for myself and my fiance, and you've talked about your wedding. All right. Rub it in that you've got a, fulfilling life, dickhead. Mine's pretty good as well, actually. I shouldn't complain. So let's go on to, there are 2 lists left. There's the Trace list and there's the Ogres list. And I actually haven't looked at this list at all because Ed submitted his list as a import file, as you can see in here. Look at that. It's an owb.json. If you submit lists in the future and you want to do this, it would make my life easier. I would not be opposed to that. It would definitely make things better for me. So let's go through and we can have this list on. So, Corhole Lineman on foot. Interesting. Archmage on foot. Ring of Fury. That Archmage is squishy. Is it going with the Woodsman? Then we've got the Prince on the Dragon. Yeah, I mean, Prince on Dragon's just a great way to put in. This Wizard's so squishy. Where does the... Everyone goes in the Lion Guard. What? Alright. So the Lion Guard have got... You haven't even given them a magic standard. Oh, not that the magic standard matters. What are you trying to achieve with this list, Ed? Let's go Poison Tour. It's Poison Tour Trace. Okay, fair enough. Thank you, Callum, for doing my shilling for me. Ozymandias says, if anyone has not joined the Discord, I highly recommend it. I've been on it for 2 days and it's been great. Thank you very much. And then Callum says, if you join as a member, this is a member of Longbeard or higher, you get to partake in the VIP lobby, which is a bastion of Warhammer tips and knowledge. It's usually just Warhammer banter, if we're being honest, but it is a lot of fun. That's where I spend most of my time. Right, so let me see if I can unfuck this list. Core Hill, I'm sorry. You have to go. Because we're going to put a Chieftain in with a BSB, and we're going to go Banner of Resilience, and we're going to go Great Blade, And that puts us so heavily above points. God, that's just not okay. Okay, let's go back to Core Hill then, and we'll just... I think if you put the BSB of Resilience in there, we just never get charged. So let's just give the Archmage some survivability. We can get rid of the Ring of Fury here, and we can go... I think the Circlet is really, really solid here. +1 to your wound, +1 to your toughness. So you've got a T4 full wound Archmage. We then also need to go Silvery Wand, and we're going to go for Talisman of Protection. Where is that? Or have you used that already? You've used that already. Okay, we'll just go for Seed of Rebirth. There we go. So you've got a 5-up regen, which means that the wizard doesn't immediately fall over. And I think this is a solid loadout. Makes it just not die. We are now 35 points over. That's fine. We can just trim some points from this. Oh, no. Absolutely not. We're not going full command on these woodsmen. They just give up too many points. But everything else on them looks good. What if we went... units of 7, but 3 of them with musicians? I think I like that. Oh, that hits us exactly 2,000 points, and we're 25 points missing from here. That's so sad. Which means we need to shave 28 points, which means that the line guard has to be dropped a little bit. I guess we drop the Ring of Fury here. Is that right? Is that the solution? God, that's so sad. It's definitely not the solution, because it doesn't get us there. 18 points per model. So if I go like that, and then what the hell am I doing? You've given me an awful puzzle to solve, and I resent it. Oh, we haven't given you a dragon a shield. Give the dragon a shield. Which means we're only 6 points under. I know I haven't, that's why I did that. I know you did, and that's why I'm saying it. If it was someone else, I'd give them the benefit of the doubt and be like, oh, they just really want to see me, you know, see this a version of this. But I know that you're doing this deliberately. I mean, this is about as close as we're going to get, right? Maybe just give one of them a champion in case you have to fight. Oh, no, that doesn't even work. It's too many points. Oh, wait, you haven't even given them line cloaks. Ugh. I think I want line cloaks on them for the not being picked up by incidental shooting, which means we have to drop exactly one model. So a 7, a 7, and a 6. Okay, that works. There we go. There we go. I think this is the optimized version of the list you've given me. You fuck. That's the benefit of being in the VIP, which doesn't sound like a benefit at all, really. You give me shit and I give you shit back. There we go. I think I don't hate that list, actually. Because, I mean, it's a dragon, it's a points denial unit, it's a second points denial unit, and then it's some Vanguard skirmish bullshit. I don't think it's terrible. I don't think I like Core Hill. I don't necessarily want him in there. But he does kind of hit hard, though, right? 4 attacks with Furious Charge. He's only Strength 4 natively, but he is Strikes First with Cheal, which is Strength 6 AP 3 Killing Blow. Rerolling hit rolls of 1. Yeah, it's probably good enough. Thanks, Soup Delic. How dare you. Hate that for me. Cool. So we're down to the last list, which is Darken Avatars. And done it in basically 2 hours, which is incredible, because I had to go through so many lists today. Morning Entropy. Just to catch you up on the stream, I'm super sleep deprived. I had an issue with getting my... I lost my electric key last night. I have tried to fix my sleep schedule because I've got to be up at 5 o'clock tomorrow morning for a Team England practice. We've got to travel all the way up to the northeast. And we've gone through 14 lists because obviously the stream cut off 2 weeks ago. So we're doing all right. Hey, Garrett, lovely. My brain is not... I have a bit of the brain fog, so I'm struggling to connect real names to avatars, even when I know who people are. I remember looking at the two lists, and outside of the context of the other Ogre list, I definitely like this one more. So you've got the double Mournfang Cavalry that slap, you've got the Yetis that Vanguard. When I saw this initially, I was like, oh, but the Scouts is so bad now, and you haven't gone for the Scouts, that makes a lot of sense. You've gone for the cheap unit of Bulls, you've gone for the Iron Gut Death Star with the Cannibal Totem, which I really like. You've gone for just a cheap unit of Saber-Tucks, which is a solid list. And then we've got Slaughtermaster Tyrant. So the Tyrant, this is where I really like the Spangled Shard Death Cheater Ogre Blade. I think it's really solid. It's a shame you can't give him an Iron Fist. I know it doesn't work, but it feels like it should. I think this is solid. Like, I don't know what I'd tweak here. So I like the level 4. Fistful of Laurels, having it twice for the re-rolling break test. You've got a pseudo BSB is really nice. Lore Familiar so you can pick your spells, and then Ruby Ring of Ruin. Maybe I wouldn't go Lore Familiar. Are there any spells? Because Lore of the Great Maw is a good lore. You could give yourself +1 toughness. Is it? Oh, it's until end of turn. That's so sad. In my head, I was thinking of like 6th edition ogres, and for some reason, it's not that. Obviously, Troll Guts is incredible, but you don't want to take it because you can't cast it on yourself, and you've got the regen banner already. I don't know that I'd make any tweaks to this, honestly. I think this is really solid. Maybe I'd look for a big name here. You've taken Death Cheater already, so it kind of doesn't matter. That's the only one that really excites me. Rerolls on the Mournfang, because they've got D3 impact hits each. Yeah. With Mournfang Charge, which is AP1 Armor Bane 1. Yep, that's right. So this unit slaps on the charge. This unit definitely makes it in. I don't think there are any sort of like efficiency tweaks I can make. I mean, obviously, you have your issues with ogres in general, but I think this is a really efficient way of doing things. I want to love the man-eaters with the poison pistol shots, but they're just so expensive per model that I don't think I can justify putting them in realistically. Do you think I need 2 laurels in that unit? 100%, yeah. I'd love to get a BSB in there, but points are so tight. You'd have to drop something, which I don't want to drop any of these models, and I think this unit of Yetis is like surprisingly effective. So they've got Grimfrost weapons, which, if I remember correctly, are AP2. Oh, AP1 Armor Bane 1. But, you know, still, it's a really solid stat line. 3 attacks at strength 5, which is just enough to cleave through incidental things. And then, obviously, you're putting the numbing chill on them, which is really nice as well. It's like you've got the stream on a 1.5 speed. That's really funny. Glad to have another set of eyes on it. I think you've optimized this about as tight as it can be optimized. You could argue that you'd want a BSB in there, because if you put the BSB in, you could drop the 2 laurels, and you could put in like a war banner, so you're getting another +2 combat res, but then you've got to equip him like tanky-ish. The only other thing you could maybe justify doing is giving the Slaughtermaster a ward save, but you've already got the regen. And you've got, what, 5 wounds at T5? Yeah, 5 wounds T5 with a 5-up regen. You're already kind of tanky. I think you can get away without it, honestly. And the Ruby Ring's really nice because obviously lots of things are going to run around you because you're ogres. Yeah, I feel like you've maximized the theme a lot. The only other tweaks that you might make, I think, change how the list works. So you could go heavy on drops and you could go lots of Saber-Tusks. Split the Yetis up into units of 2. They do go down into 2s, don't they? No, they go into 3s. Okay, ignore everything I was just saying then. I think this is good. I like it. Yeah. So again, I'm not going to link this one because I think you've got the list right. If you find your Slaughtermaster is dying a lot or getting heroic killing blowed, maybe it's worth... Or just killing blowed in general. Maybe it's worth going for the ward save here, but I think otherwise it's good. Oh no, you don't need to go for the ward save because you've got battle magic. So you're just going to Oak and Shield it. Yeah. Solid. All right. Cool. Well, thank you all for watching this evening. Hope it has been good. It's always fun to do these Friday streams. I did get through almost everyone's. There were 2 people who submitted after the cutoff. Apologies that I couldn't get to yours, but even going as Entropy said at 1.5 speed in my manic state, I've only just managed to do the 15 or 16 or whatever it was in the last 2 hours. So you will go on my spreadsheet as first priority for next week or week after next. And yeah, have a good evening all, and I'm sure I'll have some content to talk about for Team England. I maybe won't do it this week because I put up a Team England video recently. We've also got an international scrim coming up as well, so might wait until we've done pairings and played some games for that before I talk about any more Team England.